Now you're watching live footage from the venue.
10月28日至31日
From the 28th to the 31st last
第
month,
19届中央委员
the
会
fourth plenary
第
session
4次
of the
全
19th
体会议
CPC Central
在
Committee
北京
was held
召
in
开。
Beijing.
境内外媒体十分关注，
Chinese and international
为帮助记
media
者朋友
has been following this
更好
meeting
了解
closely.
全会情
And today
况。
we are having this press
今天我
conference
们请
to
来
brief you on this
6个
meeting.
部门的
We have
负责
invited
人
with us
介绍
senior
有关
officials
情况，
from 6
并
relevant
回答大家
departments,
的提问。
so they will brief us and take your
出席
questions.
今天发布会的有
They are
中央宣传部分管
Deputy
日常工
Minister
作
Wang
的副长，
Xiaohui from the
中央
Publicity
政策研
Department,
究室副主任
Deputy
王
Director
晓辉先生，中央政策研究室
Deputy Director
分管日常工作的副主
Mr.
任，
Jiang Jingquan from the
江金泉
Policy
先生。
Research Office of the CPC Central Committee,
中央财经委员会
Deputy
办公室
Director Han Wenxiu
分管日常
from
工
the
作的副
Office
主
of
任
the Central Commission
韩
for
文秀
Financial and
先生。
Economic Affairs,
全国人大常委会
Director
法工委主
Shen
任
Chunyao from the Legislative
港澳
Affairs
基本
Commission
法委主任
and the Commission
沈
on the
春耀
Basic Law of
先生。
Hong Kong and Macau from the NPC,
司法部党组书记、副部
Vice
长
Minister
袁
Yuan
曙
Shuhong
宏
from
先
the
生，
Ministry of Justice,
全国政协
and Deputy
副秘书
Secretary
长
General
舒
Shu
启明
Qiming
先
from
生。
the General Office of the National Committee of the
今天
CPPCC.
现场也有许多外国记者
I
朋
see
友，
we have many foreign
为
journalists
方便
with
大
us
家
today,
更好了解情况，发布会
so
采取
we have
全
prepared
场同声传译。
simultaneous
如
interpretation
记者朋友
between Chinese and
用外语
English
提问，
for the whole
提问
session.
部分
So if you
会
raise your
交
questions
传成
in
中文。
English, we will also have
下面
consecutive
先请
translation
王
into
晓辉先
Chinese
生介
just
绍
for the
全
question
会
part.
有关
Now
情况。
first, I give the microphone to Mr. Wang Xiaohui.
各位记者朋友，大家上午好！
Good morning.
非常高兴向大家介绍中
It's
共
my
19
great
届
pleasure
四
to
中全
brief
会
you
的
on the
有关
fourth
情况。
plenary session.
刚才主持人讲到了
Just now, as
中
the
国共产
host
党
has
第
said,
19届中央委员会
this fourth
第4次
plenary
全体会
session
议
of the 19th
于
CPC
2019
Central
年
Committee
10月28
was
号
held from the
到31号
28th to the
在北京
31st
举行。
October in Beijing.
会议由中
It
央
was
政治局主
presided
持。
over by the Political Bureau.
会议听取和讨
The
论了
meeting heard and
习近平总
discussed
书
the
记
report made by
受
General
中央
Secretary
政
Xi
治局委
Jinping,
托做的工作报
entrusted
告。
by the Political Bureau,
全会充
It
分肯
reviewed
定、高度评价了
and
党的19届三中全会以
highly
来中央政
applauded
治局的工作。
the achievements made
会议
by
审议
and
通过
works
了
by the
中共
Political
中央
Bureau,
关于坚持和完
reviewed
善
and
中国
adopt
特色社会主义制度，
the
推进国家治理体
CPC
系
Central
和治理
Committee's
能力现代
decision
化。
on
若
some
干
major
重大问题的
issues
决定。
regarding improving the socialist system with
会议还
Chinese
审议通过
characteristics
了
and
递补中
modernizing
央
the
委
system
员
and
和
capacity
纪
for
律处分的
governance.
决定。会议结束
Also,
时
we，
习近平总书记
adopted
发表了重要讲话。
decisions regarding
会议
new
圆满
members of
完
the
成了
Political
各项
Bureau
议
and
程。
some of the discipline
用此
regulations.
中央全会
General
专门研究
Secretary
国家
delivered
治理
important speech
和国
at
家
the
治理
end
问
of
题
the meeting, and we
并
have
作出决定，这
completed
在我
all
们党
the
的历史
agenda
上还是第一
items.
次。
This is the
所以我觉
first
得
time
对这次全会的
that
历史
we
地
had
位
such
及
very
其深远影
important
响
meeting in the history
应当
of
放在
the
党和国
party,
家事业
and
发
if
展
we are to
全局
understand the historic
和长远
importance
发展
and
中
profound
来认识和
impact
把
of
握。
this fourth plenum, I would suggest that
首先
we
呢，
put
这
it
次
in the
全会
context of the overall
是在
picture
关
and
键
the
时期
long-term
召开的一次
development
重
of
要
both
会
the
议。
party and the country. First,
现在
it is
我
a
国
very
正处在
important meeting
实现
held
2个
at a
100年
critical
奋斗目
moment.
标的历史交
We
汇
are at
点
a
上。
crucial period while
从国际看，
as
世
we
界
are
发
about
展
to
面
achieve
临
the
百
two
年未有之
centenary
大变
goals.
局。
Internationally, world
中国发
development
展
is
的外
facing
部环
major
境
changes
更趋
rarely
复
seen
杂。
in a century, complicating
从国
China's
内看，
external
我国正处于
environment.
实现中华民族
Domestically,
伟大复兴
we
关
are
键
at
时
the
期。
crucial time of the
决胜全面建成
rejuvenation
小
of
康
the
社会
Chinese
进入
nation
了
and
收
is
官阶
about
段。
to complete the building of a moderately
今
prosperous
年呢，又
society in
恰
all
逢新
respects.
中国成立
This
70 周
year, we
年。
just celebrated the
我们觉得
70th
在这样一个
anniversary
时
of the
刻，
People's
需要
Republic.
更好地总结过去，
And we
规划
think
未
this
来。
is a time for us to
所以在这
review
样的
what
大背
has been
景下，
achieved
在
and
这
to
样的
make
一个
up
时
new
间节点
plans
上，
for the
我
future.
们召开19
This
届
is
四
the
中全
overall
会，
backdrop of
更
the
加凸
fourth
显了
plenum,
会议的
and
特
such a
殊
special
性
timing
和战略性。
demonstrates the special importance and
其次，
strategic
这次全会
significance of this
主题
meeting.
重大，事关
Second,
根本，
The theme of the plenary session is of fundamental importance. Upholding and improving socialism with Chinese characteristics and modernizing the national governance system and capacity is vital to advancing the causes of the party and the country, the long-term stability of the country and well-being of the people. The CPC Central Committee decided to study this very important issue because it is an important task, because we need to have overall considerations about the future development of the country. We need to make very strategic and important decisions. It reviews the strategic and the long-term vision as well as the historical responsibility shouldered by the Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. It also shows our strong confidence in the path, theory, and culture of China's socialism, and it shows that we will carry out our great struggle, advance our great cause, develop the great project, and realize our great dream. Third, the plenary session is a fruitful meeting that has a long-term impact. The most important outcome is the decision. It provides a comprehensive summary of the historic achievements that have been made in building socialism with Chinese characteristics. What are the systems that we need to uphold and consolidate? What are the systems that we must improve and develop? It provides a summary of the unique strengths that we have in China's socialism and our system of governance. It's identified the basic theory, the important theory, and the important systems and institutions of China's socialism with major tasks and measures laid out. It provides both theoretical and practical innovation and requirements, and it's very important for us as it is an important political declaration and a plan of action for us to continue our efforts. We believe this plenary is a landmark in the party and the country's development, and as we implement the outcomes of this plenary, we will be able to better develop China's socialism and better translate the strengths of our political system to a better performance of the government. Thank you very much.
谢谢王晓辉先生。
Thank you, Mr. Wang Xiaohui. I will now give the floor to Mr. Jiang Jinquan to talk about upholding and improving the party's leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The leadership of the CPC is the defining feature of socialism with Chinese characteristics and the greatest strength of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. In a country as big as China, without the leadership of the Communist Party, the country would fall apart and accomplish nothing. The fourth plenary session has, for the first time, defined the elements of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics and broken it down into 13 aspects. Among them, the party's leadership is the fundamental leadership system for the country, which governs and runs through other 12 aspects. The plenary session looked to improve the party's leadership system to ensure that CPC exercises overall leadership and coordinates the efforts of all involved, and put forward 6 requirements. First, establish a system of staying true to the original aspiration and mission. This is the foundation and precondition for the leadership of the CPC. To establish this system, we need to enable all party members to adhere to the CPC's nature and fundamental purposes, its belief and ultimate goals, and maintaining the party's advanced nature and purity and gaining the wholehearted support of the people. Second, improve the various systems that uphold the authority of the CPC Central Committee and its centralized and unified leadership. Upholding the authority of the CPC Central Committee and its centralized unified leadership is the highest principle of the CPC's governance. To improve these systems, we need to urge the entire party to strengthen our consciousness in four respects, increase our confidence in four aspects, and deliver the true upholds. We need to closely follow the CPC Central Committee with Xi Jinping at its core in thinking, political orientation and actions to ensure unity, solidarity and concerted action of the whole party. Third, improve the system of the CPC's leadership overall work. The CPC's leadership overall work defines the CPC's role in exercising overall leadership and coordinating efforts of all involved, which means coordinating all forces, mobilizing all positive factors, and forming greater synergies in order to efficiently advance the cause of the party and the country. Fourth, improve various systems of governance for the people and by the people. Governance for the people and by the people is the ultimate objective and means of the CPC leadership. Improving these systems means putting our people first, closely relying on the people to govern the country, and cementing the foundation and the social base of the CPC's governance. Fifth, improve the system of strengthening the CPC's ability to govern and lead. The CPC's ability to govern and lead determines the effectiveness of the country's governance. Improving this system means improving the CPC's ways of leadership and governance, enhancing the CPC's governance skills, and continuously strengthening its capacity to govern in a sound, democratic way and in accordance with law. Sixth, improve the system of enforcing full and strict self-discipline in the CPC. It takes a good blacksmith to make good steel. Enforcing full and strict self-discipline in the CPC is the fundamental guarantee of preserving the purity and advanced nature of the CPC and consolidating the CPC's leadership role. We need to advance the CPC's internal reform, increase the CPC's ability to solve its own problems, and let our party continue to be the firm leadership core of the cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics. These 6 aspects are the basic parts of the CPC's leadership system, which we must fully build, always uphold, and continuously improve and develop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director Mr. Jiang Jingquan. Now, Deputy Director Han Wenxiu, please, and he will brief us on the basic socialist basic economic system. Good morning, everyone. I will brief you on the basic socialist economic system. The basic economic system is what stabilizes an economy in the long run. Therefore, it has a decisive role to play when it comes to the nature of the system and the ways of its development. Over the years, the CPC has upheld the basic economic system whereby public ownership plays a dominant role and economic entities under diverse forms of ownership develop side by side. Now, in addition to that, this plenum has also identified 2 more elements as part of the basic economic system. The distribution system, whereby distribution according to labor is dominant and a variety of other modes of distribution coexist alongside it, and the socialist market economy. These 3 interconnected and reinforcing elements together comprise China's new basic economic system. This means that a more mature socialist economic system is taking shape in China. This major innovation will better leverage the strengths of China's socialism, unlock and boost social productivity, and promote high-quality development. This decision has made the following arrangements for upholding and improving the basic economic system. First, we must be resolute in 2 areas. One is to consolidate and develop the public sector, and second is to encourage, support, and guide the development of the non-public sector. We need to deepen SOE reforms, improve modern enterprise system with Chinese features, and enhance SOE's competitiveness, innovation, control, and influence and risk resilience through market competition to make state capital stronger, better, and bigger. We must develop mixed ownership economic entities. Non-public sector has kept growing since the reform and opening up, and it is now taking up over half of China's economy, and this proportion is still increasing. So the plenary decided that we need to improve the policy framework to build a close but clean relationship between the government and the business to ensure the healthy and sound development of the non-public sector and the people working in it. Second, we must maintain and improve the distribution system whereby the distribution according to labor is dominant and a variety of other modes of distribution exist alongside it. We will encourage people to make their money through hard work while improving mechanisms for distribution based on contributions of factors of production such as labor, capital, land, knowledge, technology, management, and data. We must improve the regulatory mechanism of income redistribution and develop social welfare programs such as charity. We will also enlarge the middle income group, regulate income distribution procedures, and form a olive-shaped distribution structure. Third, we need to speed up the improvement of socialist market economy and see that the market plays the decisive role in resource allocation, the government plays its better role. That means we need to make good use of both the invisible and the visible hand. We must establish high standard, better protection of the property rights and intellectual property, protect business secrets, promote market-based allocation of factors of production, put competition at a more fundamental position, develop advanced manufacturing, and rejuvenate the real economy, improve system for SMT innovation. All are aimed to put in place a high standard open economy. We believe that with this socialist basic economic system, China will be able to enjoy long-term stable and high-quality development in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Han Wenxiu. I will now invite Mr. Shen Chunyao to brief you on upholding and improving the system of people's congresses. Good morning, everyone. I will briefly talk about upholding and improving the system of people's congresses. The communique and decision of the fourth plenary session emphasize the importance of upholding and improving the fundamental system, basic system, an important system that supports the socialist system with Chinese characteristics, and clearly state that we must uphold and improve the People's Congress system, which is the fundamental political system of China. The People's Congress system is a fundamental political institutional framework that upholds the leadership by the party, governance by the people, and the rule of law. It is the fundamental political system that supports China's national governance system and capacity. Under the new historical circumstances, upholding and improving the People's Congress system is of great significance for ensuring the governance by the people, developing socialist democracy, and giving full play to the advantages and the strengths of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics and the national governance system. Implementing the People's Congress system in China is a great creation of the Chinese people in the history of political systems in the world. Since New China was founded, the party and the country have decided to implement the People's Congress system. In September 1954, the first National People's Congress convened its first plenary meeting in Beijing, marking the official establishment of the People's Congress system nationwide. In December 1978, the third plenary session of the 11th CPC Central Committee started the new era of China's reform and opening up and socialist modernization when the People's Congress system was revitalized and entered a new stage of vigorous development. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, the CPC Central Committee with Xi Jinping as the core has attached great importance to upholding and improving the People's Congress system. It has made a series of important instructions, propositions, and adopted a series of important measures which comprehensively promoted socialist democracy and the rule of law, and the People's Congress system now enjoys stronger vitality. Over the past 70 years since the PRC's founding, especially in the past 4 decades of reform and opening up, the People's Congress system has been consolidated, improved, and developed under the leadership of the CPC. It has demonstrated strong vitality and clear strength and played an important role as China's fundamental political system. Its main strengths are the follows. First, it fully guarantees the people's right to be the masters of the country. Second, it fully mobilizes all of the Chinese people to devote themselves to the socialist cause as masters of the country. Third, it effectively guarantees coordinated, efficient performance of state organs through various systems. Fourth, it firmly safeguards national unification, ethnic unity, and social harmony and stability. Fifth, it provides powerful support for improving the national governance system and capacity. It has been proven that the People's Congress system is a good system that suits China's conditions. It embodies the country's socialist nature, ensures that the people run the country, and safeguards the realization of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. China is a socialist country of the People's Democratic Dictatorship led by the working class and based on the alliance of workers and peasants. All power of the state belongs to the people, and the people exercise state power through the National People's Congress and other people's congresses. This is the main democratic channel for the people to exercise state power and to consolidate and develop the people's status as the country's masters. On upholding and improving the system of people's congresses, the 14th plenary session made important instructions and put forward ways to improve the People's Congress system and our tasks and requirements for the time to come. It answers questions as to, under the new historical conditions, what do we uphold and carry forward, and what to improve and develop. It has pointed to the direction going forward. It stipulates that we shall guarantee that the people exercise state power through the People's Congress system, that the People's Congresses are democratically elected, responsible for the people and supervised by the people, and that all state organs are elected by the People's Congresses, answer to the People's Congresses, and subject to their oversight, and support the law-based governance, law-based exercise of functions by these state organs, especially the government, the Supervisory Commission, and the People's Court, and the People's Procuratorate. We should bring our deputies closer to the people, improve their contact mechanism, and better leverage the role of deputies. We need to improve the organizational, the electoral system, and strengthen procedural rules of People's Congresses. We need to improve the research, evaluation, deliberation, and hearing system. We need to increase the number of deputies at the primary level and enhance local People's Congresses and their standing committees. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shen Chunyao. And now give the floor to Mr. Yuan Shuhong to brief you on upholding and improving the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now brief you on upholding and improving the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics. The rule of law system is the backbone of the national governance system. The fourth plenary session has given high priority to upholding and improving the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics, which fully demonstrate that the CPC Central Committee with Xi Jinping at its core is paying close attention to fully advancing law-based governance and promoting rule of law in China. The decision points out that establishing a system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics and building a socialist country with the rule of law are the intrinsic requirements of upholding and developing socialism with Chinese characteristics. The more socialism with Chinese characteristics develops, the greater the need for us to make sure the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics will play a bigger role in providing guidance and guarantee, and constantly providing institutional solutions for prominent problems facing the cause of the party and country, so as to embrace broader and brighter prospects for the cause of socialism with Chinese characteristics. To this end, the decision stresses that we should keep to the path of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics, speed up the establishment of a full-fledged legal system, an efficient law enforcement system, a strict oversight system, and a strong system of safeguards, and step up efforts to improve party regulations. It has put forward measures in four aspects with regard to mechanisms, institutions, and systems. First, we need to improve the mechanisms and institutions that ensure the full enforcement of the Constitution. To advance the rule of law, we must first adhere to governance based on the Constitution, and to realize governance in accordance with the law, we must fully adhere to governance in accordance with the Constitution. We must improve the mechanisms and institutions that ensure the full enforcement of the Constitution by strengthening efforts to ensure and oversee the enforcement of the Constitution, implementing the mechanism of procedures for the interpretation of the Constitution, advancing constitutional compliance, review and improving the system and capacity for recording and review. Second, we need to improve legislative systems and mechanisms. With good laws, there will be good governance, whether it's in the country or in the whole world. In order to build the system of socialist rule of law with Chinese characteristics, we must further improve the legislative systems and mechanisms, improve the quality and efficiency of lawmaking, and guarantee good governance with good laws. Third, we need to improve the legal safeguard system for social fairness and justice. Fairness and justice constitute the lifeline of the rule of law. We must put in perspective the principal contradiction facing Chinese society in the new era and stick to the principle that the rule of law will benefit the people. We need to ensure strict law enforcement and impartial administration of justice so that the people will feel the fairness and justice in every judicial case. Fourth, we need to intensify oversight over the implementation of laws. In order to ensure the full and fair implementation of laws, we must effectively strengthen oversight to ensure impartial exercise of the administrative, supervisory, judicial and procuratorial power so as to protect our people's legitimate rights and interests. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister Yuan Shuhou. Now I give the floor to Deputy Secretary General Shu Qiming, and he will brief us on China's political system and the United Front. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now brief you on China's political party system and the United Front. The system of the CPC-led multi-party cooperation and political consultation is a basic political system of China. It is a joint creation of the CPC, the Chinese people, other political parties, and people without party affiliation. It is a brand new system of political parties based on China's realities. The decision also made arrangements for the implementation of the principles of long-term coexistence, mutual oversight, sincerity and sharing will and will, strengthening the construction of the socialist political party system with Chinese characteristics, and improving the mechanism of mutual oversight, especially the CPC's conscientiously willingness to accept the oversight by non-communist parties and the mechanism for carrying out the special oversight on the implementation of major policy decisions and plans. The CPPCC is a great accomplishment of the CPC, which combines the Marxist-Leninist theories on united front, political party, and democracy with China's actual conditions. It is a creation in the political system achieved by the CPC together with other political parties, people without party affiliations, people's organizations, and people from all across the society or ethnic groups. This system has unique Chinese characteristics. For the past 70 years under the leadership of the CPC, the CPPCC has played a very important role in different stages of the country, including the founding of the People's Republic, socialist revolution, construction, and reform. The decision emphasizes the need to give full play to the role of the CPPCC as a political organization and a form of democracy, improve its level of political consultation, democratic oversight, and participate in the deliberation and the administration of state affairs, and better build consensus. It put forward the following measures to improve the role of the CPPCC as a specialist consultative body, enriching the forms of consultation and promoting sound rules of consultation. Socialist consultative democracy as an important way of realizing party leadership is unique to China's socialism. The decision puts forward plans in the following aspects: to uphold its democracy, build a complete consultative democracy system featuring appropriate procedures, improving the mechanism of conducting consultations before and during the implementation of the decision, and enriching its institutional practices. Because the essence of the people's democracy is that the people get to discuss their own affairs. The United Front is an important way to ensure the success of the parties and the people's cause. Whether we get the support of the people decides whether we can succeed in the cause of the party, thus our political priority. The decision therefore emphasizes that we must consolidate and develop the widest possible patriotic united front, bear in mind the bigger picture, improve the policies that accommodate the interests of our allies, and pursue the harmony among political parties, ethnic groups, religions, sectors of society, and people across the world. Thank you very much.
谢谢苏启明先生。
Thank you very much.
现在。
That's a press conference held by the Publicity Department of the Communist Party of China Central Committee. Officials briefed the media on the importance and achievement made during the fourth plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee. In specific areas, officials also introduced and explained the improvement and tasks of the leadership of the CPC and China's socialist economic system, the People's Congress system, the system of law, and also China's political party system. Now, for more insight into that, we're joined in the studio by Professor Liu Baocheng from University of International Business and Economics here in Beijing. Professor, let me start with your area of expertise, that is China's socialist economy system. And according to the senior official, this time there's a first. That means it's the first time that a distribution system has been enlisted into China's basic and fundamental economic system. So what it is, according to the official, its distribution according to labor is dominant, and a variety of other modes of distribution exist alongside it. What does that mean? Tell us.
Well, if you talk about economic institution, several basic questions. Who are there to receive resources in the end? But before, who are there to allocate and who own those resources? So now, back to the distribution system. Of course, the socialism still emphasizes on this distribution based on the contribution. because that's very human, at least for this stage, and that can really incentivize the productivity of the people. We tried the mandate system after the new China was established under the rigid Soviet type of socialism, and that turned out that distribution based on the individual person or per head didn't really work. And now, with distribution based on contribution, based on productivity, and we do also pay attention to social justice and try to narrow the polarization of wealth by the tax system. During the poverty alleviation campaign, central government has transferred humongous money to those underdeveloped areas. And also we need also to look at the third way of distribution, that is really social philanthropy, where businesses, after they pay the tax, and rich tycoons, they were also getting involved in really supporting those unprivileged people. So it's a multi-tier distribution system, but the key still is to how to incentivize people to work and work more efficiently.
So when we talk about the economic system, how does that relate to the building of the system of laws? Because the official also mentioned the importance not only on legislative side, but also on the enforcement.
Exactly. Actually, human behavior depends on how predictable would that be for reward or punishment based on what they do. So law is predictable, law is transparent, and law is consistent. So we are used to rule the country by policy, but policy can be very effective for a moment, but sustainability and long-term coherence can be at stake. So therefore, rule of law becomes utterly important, not only for the Chinese people, all stakeholders involved, but also to the outside world when China is opening further to the outside world, and how the business communities around the world would get prepared and make plans for their business activities with China and other diplomatic relations, etc. And the other is that, you have legislation, but you have also judicial, and also you have the enforcement. So only these three areas in terms of the legal construction can really be made more complete, and also to really to defend the authority of rule of law. So right now, legislation is very active, judicial is really enhancing, but enforcement is still very much at stake, because they need again to develop the capacity, and that's why that's very important part of the governance modernization, because without the right type of capacity, with the lawyer circle, with the police circle, and even with prisons. So how can really the right law based on the Chinese socialistic characteristic can be really carried out in a desired fashion? So that's a important issue. So capacity building becomes very important in the legal circle.
Now let's expand the scope a little bit. We know China's economy is highly integrated with the world right now, and this time's session is quite straightforward about outside challenges, and the original wording is the outside environment for China's development is more complex. So relating that to the economic sector, what are the challenges in particular the session is pointing to?
Well, why external pressure is mounting? Because we have been opening further wider of the Chinese door. So if we isolate ourselves, like 40 years ago, we wouldn't really feel such pressure. But without such a pressure, without such challenge, we don't really have the right momentum to move forward so rapidly in terms of production and also consumption. So right now, the critical challenge, one is of course the looming trade war, and largely actually the sluggish growth of the global economy. And we expected that after the end of the financial crisis and the world can really come and stand up for a better recovery, but now it's rather disappointing. And the other is the protectionism that is going on, supported by nationalism and even popularism. And so the world is really at a risk of fragmentation. So China is trying to defend the global trading system, and also by integrating more regionally, and with outstanding contribution by building the Belt and Road Initiative, etc., etc. And so right now, it is really a very difficult task for China to address, those global issues, because global leadership is still something on the way for China. And the other is that how can we really preempt the contagion of global pressure onto the Chinese growth rate and onto the Chinese way of democracy and governance. So that's really critical time to test the governance and leadership of the Communist Party, and also the social responsibility of the Chinese citizens.
Thank you very much, Professor Liu Baocheng there. You're watching The World Today on CGTN. Stay with us.